That's pretty funny. Yeah, sometimes I wonder if we live in the Matrix. Hey, thanks for coming to another show of Don't Get This Twisted. I am Rob, along with my co-host, as always, Tina. How are you doing?
I'm tired, but I'm doing good.
Yes, because you went to the desert. You went to the Las Vegas place.
Yeah, it was in Las Vegas with friends from junior high. It was a good time.
Wow,
it was a good time.
I haven't been there in a long time.
Since you moved,
like
from there.
I know I went back a couple of times, but it's probably been. Let's see, I've been here almost 3. It's probably been like 8 years.
Wow.
And I live closer to it now than I've ever lived.
Yeah, so, we went and this was the first time. There was no traffic. There was no drama with the car. Like, we literally flew there and flew home. It was fantastic. So
that's pretty cool.
And it was a really good time.
I'm just not a big fan of hotels. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a fan of them, but I'm just not a fan of paying. Mm-hmm. And they're so expensive. So I know people there, but I really haven't talked to them in a long time. So it's like, but I'd like to go and see some people, because I haven't seen some friends for, like I said, 8 years.
Yeah.
So it'd be fun.
Getcha.
Hey, so we're going to talk common sense today, because we were talking before we got on here and how there's kind of a lack thereof.
Yes.
A small bit, right? I'm trying to find a good definition of it.
Put people on the road and you see how much common sense is not common. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, I think every generation says that it's worse and worse with the generation that's coming up. But there's so much traffic where we live now that you're bound to see an idiot every time you get in a car, that doesn't have common sense. It's doing the wrong thing. Is just a stupid maneuver that could cost somebody a life. Like, I've been on the road a lot, just going back and forth to Vegas, and the things that I'm seeing, I'm just like, aren't you using your brain at all? Good news is you kind of could see it coming. So you get out of a person's way and just hope that they get wherever they got to go without having any problems. But man, people on the road, not using common sense, good judgment. It's scary. It's scary.
Very much so. Almost to the degree where you see the lack of common sense daily. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. So here's the Webster's dictionary version of it. Sound and prudent judgment based on a simple perception of the situation or facts. It's pretty easy.
Right.
So and here's this is their sentence of giving it in usage. It says, so far, I've had the common sense not to tweet anything ghastly. Ooh, ghastly, I say. Ghastly. So I think, we live in a society where people use the internet for their fact checking and or their way of always getting information. Mm-hmm. When sometimes it really is just common sense to say, look, it's this way. Or if you're doing something, to go, hey, it's common sense to do this while you're here. It's like you were gone over the weekend and you stayed in a place that wasn't a hotel. It's common sense to leave it clean.
Absolutely.
But I guarantee you, a lot of people would not have that common sense.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And I think we're finding more and more that people aren't using their better judgment when it's trying to break down the simplest of things. Mm-hmm. Like as much as like if you are doing something and there's trash on the floor, the common sense is to pick it up.
Right. You don't want your house to look
And,
like nobody cares about it, or that you don't care about yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of like in a lot of apartment buildings or something, you'll see like a sign that says pick up your dog poop.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because there's a lot of dumb people that just leave it.
Do you really think that they do it just because the sign is there, though?
No. I'm just saying the common sense would be if your dog craps on the ground, you pick it up. Mm-hmm. And this is not just here, it's anywhere. I've seen it at a dog park where like it's everywhere. And like the whole point is that you don't want to step in it or have your dog run through it. So the common sense would be watch your dog, and when he poops, you pick it up.
Exactly.
So like for me, I mean, I don't live in a house, so I don't have to worry about that. But if I owned a home, I think I would just follow the dog out, and when he poops, pick it up in a plastic bag like always and dump it. Not leave it out in the yard and say I'll get it later on. Right. Just do it while you're there, because to me, that's common sense. So I think, and I hate to always break back to our generation, but I think we were taught more common sense, or it was beaten into our heads more. And I think my son probably has a little bit of that as well, because I tried. But even that is
or we learned
not
from
right.
making mistakes, because back then we were allowed to make them. And it was okay to own it, that you made a mistake, that you did something wrong, that you had a problem or something that happened. Like we were allowed to do that. Now it's like, don't do this, wash your hands, don't do that, do all these things. Like, I remember one summer, I don't think my brother bathed more than a couple times because he thought being in the pool every day was enough. And nobody said anything to him. You know what I mean? We were out all the time. So I think we were allowed to make mistakes. So we learned common sense from making them.
Probably. But I also think that our parents would be, if you were all doing something and your parents thought you should be doing something to help, they would go to you and go, what do you think you should be doing?
Yeah.
So the lead question was, you should probably be doing something. The common sense is what? If we're all cleaning up after everybody ate by the pool, you should be one of the ones picking the plates up.
Yeah.
Like it's common sense. There's just a lack there of it. And you're right. It's across the board. Get on the freeway. There's absolutely zero common sense. The common sense would be to, not get on the freeway and go 5 lanes over all at once, right? Or, not do 110 on the freeway in the morning traffic.
So this is what I saw on the freeway just the other day. I was right in front of a police officer who started doing the round robin, trying to get everybody on the freeway to stop, right? And he was doing his thing back and forth. But the people, I was one of the closest ones to him when he started, but the people were kind of trying to sneak through it. Like they were right up on his ass while he's trying to slow everybody down, to the point where he had to like physically point at people and like shake his finger to stop so that he could, stop the traffic he needed to. And I thought to myself, I'm like at least five cars behind these people that are pushing up on the police officer. And I was like, why didn't they just do what they needed to do? Stop the traffic for a minute, let him grab it was a bumper, was right in the middle of 2 lanes. He was trying to get that out of the road. And then we'd be back on our way. But they made it such a hassle that I'm surprised he didn't pull people over and start writing tickets. I don't know why people do that. Like, back the fuck up. Like, common sense says.
Yeah. Common sense says you probably shouldn't be riding the bumper of a police officer.
Yeah. Yeah, it was insane.
Or how many people do you think get hit by cars, walking across a roadway or walking across the freeway. Again, where common sense doesn't kick in when you're just, and for whatever reason. And I'm not just saying, like, there's stressful situations that common sense gets thrown out the window where, I'll give you the perfect example is when a guy wants to see a girl, common sense gets thrown out the window, right? Because we're in La La Land. Women will make men forget, that their right and left feet are different. Common sense gets thrown out. So I get it, but I think on the level of how do we teach common sense? And that's kind of an oxymoron, right? Because we really shouldn't have to teach it. Exactly. But it's missing.
And I think allowing people to make mistakes or kids to make mistakes, I think that helps them because they're going to figure out, oh, I'm not going to do that because 1, it hurt, 2, I broke a bone, or 3, I got in trouble, whatever it is, and suffered consequences because of it. And that's how it seems like that's how people start to use their thinking to their advantage. Like they learn it from messing up. And I see that these kids don't ever go anywhere to mess anything up. They don't have a life outside of whatever device they're on the internet with. And so how's anybody going to have any common sense if they're not actively learning?
Sure. And you're right. Look, I think even as adults, we have a lack of common sense when it comes to some things, right? And that's due to either not experiencing things, having someone do it for years for you. So when you get thrown into the situation now, there is no common sense about it because you've never lived it. So you're probably right. Like there is something about having these situations happen to you. So the next time you use your common sense, you know what I mean? Like I think you're totally right. Part of common sense is making the mistakes. But going forward, common sense, I think once you make the mistake, you can't make that same mistake.
Yeah. Just ask yourself, what did you learn?
How many times do you have to smack your hand with a hammer to realize it hurts?
Oh, man. I learned that the first time. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The next time you held the nail differently.
Absolutely.
You were like,
actually, I had somebody else hold it.
Yeah. Or you didn't smack it hard. You barely tapped it in. So so you understood, I don't want to hit my thumb with a hammer again. But your common sense kicked in. Your common sense was, and I think that goes across the board with after you do something like that, your common sense with other kinds of tools or other kinds of things. Like for some reason, I like to cut my thumb because how I cut my chicken, I kind of butterfly it. And because I like to stick either peppers inside or whatever when I cook it. So I always cut it and I butterfly it. And twice I have cut my thumb, and I mean deep, like good. I probably should have got stitches on one time. And both of them when I did it right before I went on vacation, both times. So both times I went to see my friend and my thumb was wrapped up. And I remember getting there and my friend, she was like, what the hell happened? I was like, I was cutting chicken again. So common sense didn't kick in. My common sense was, you're not supposed to hold the chicken like that when you're cutting it. You're supposed to cut it this way. So since then, which was about a year ago, the last time that I cut my thumb, I now think about it every single time I cut that chicken, that I hold the knife a certain way and how I go through it and where my fingers are. It's just a different thing because I did a number on it. I asked my friend who's a nurse at USC right after I cut it the first time, and I had sent her a picture of my thumb, and even she was like, you're going to the doctor, right? And I was like, nah, it's not that bad. And it shouldn't be that bad. And it was gnarly. I know I should have. Common sense should have kicked in and said, go to the doctor and get stitches.
Yeah.
Is what should have happened.
Should have.
But like I said, I think, do you think men or women have more common sense?
Ooh, you're going to make it a gender question. You know,
well, because I have my own answer.
I've seen it in both. Like when a woman is dealing with a child that's sick, for the most part, in my experience, women know more. They're more in tuned with their their children, or with taking care of children, that they naturally have an instinct that it kicks in to help them care for it, that men, I don't think, completely have, at least not the majority from what I've experienced. But common sense with other things, I would say a man has it. I think for me, it just depends on what the situation is as
Correct.
to who I would say
who
would be better at it, But I've seen men be really good knowing what their kids need. And I've seen women being really good with fixing a car or taking care of things that could go wrong before it happens. So it is a gender thing to some degree, but it really isn't a gender thing.
Mm-hmm. I think when it comes to doing stupid shit, men have no common sense. Like, look at the internet. Like, I saw this. I don't know if I sent it to you or not, but it was the guy who got in the big, huge plastic bubble ball.
Oh my
and
God.
They hit him with a car.
And he got launched into a tree.
In the tree. So common sense would say, don't do it, right? It would be like, don't do it.
Right.
But when it comes to stupid shit like that, men have zero common sense. That's why you guys live longer. Like, we'll jump off bridges, ride bikes down like super vertical where it's just.
Yeah, I would say that the boys that I grew up with were definitely more daredevilish than I was.
Right. Because common sense is don't jump off the roof.
Right.
But we did. And I did it multiple times. So, but I think when it comes to social situations, both sexes are very good at it, right? Where common sense will say, don't say this to your girlfriend's boss. You know what I mean? And again, I'm using the bell curve because, look, we all say dumb shit because some of us have no filter, where you have to be reminded before you go into the Christmas party. They're like, please don't say anything to this person. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, I'm not supposed to say anything stupid because you have loose lips. Or common sense when it comes to drinking. Like, don't drink 12 beers at the Christmas party. Like,
is that common sense?
Yeah, it should be. But how many bad Christmas party stories have you heard?
I wish I had some.
I don't have any about me, but I do have some about people I worked with, and some good ones where you're just like, holy shit, man. Like, yeah, crazy ones. So
I feel like I'm missing out.
Probably. I mean, I've missed out on a lot of stuff. I definitely started my doing dumb shit way later in life. So, but again, I'm just as guilty. Common sense is, hey, don't try to get with the girl who's already got somebody. Common sense should say that, but obviously it doesn't always work that way.
Okay, I'll give you that.
So,
but everybody has there's always exceptions to rules. And I don't know if that's common sense or it's just people pushing their luck. You know, there's a
No,
difference.
It's common sense not to do it.
Right. I'll give you that.
But we do it because we have other motives, or, you know, your brain will tell you one thing. Your brain will tell you, don't jump off the fucking building.
Mm-hmm.
But people do it. So it's no different with that kind of thing too. Like, you know, don't hit on the girl in the bar that's there with a dude. Alcohol will make common sense disappear.
I get you.
Next thing you know, you wake up the next day with your eyes swollen shut. So I get it. I think it's a mix of a lot of different things, but it's to me, it's getting less and less and less prevalent in society. We're getting more things that should be common sense that people are either ignoring because they think that they don't have to, or it's just we're not as smart when it comes to thinking out problems before we do something.
Right.
Because to me, that's what common sense is. Common sense is like, look, it's right there in front of you. It's kind of like reading manuals. The business I'm in, you know how many phone calls I get every day? They're like, hey, we got this thing and it's not working. So we thought we'd call you. And I go, did you call the manufacturer? Or did you read a manual? They're like, no, we just thought we'd talk to you. I was like, why? I didn't make it. I only sell it.
Mm-hmm.
The people who make it should be common senses to call them first. So you're not on the phone with me for 15 minutes when you could be talking to them. So those to me are the things that are just, if you just step back for a second, common sense should kick in.
I agree.
But I think maybe we're all just in such a hurry to get to whatever it is we're doing. Maybe we just miss the step of common sense. Maybe that's the bigger thing. Maybe people aren't stupid.
Maybe we're just so rushed that we don't have a minute to make a real decision. You know, not all decisions should be made like on the fly, just boom, right now, made, you know. And I don't think we live in a world where we're allowed to think about anything. It has to be right now. And we want it delivered because nobody wants to go pick it up either. So whatever we do, we should have zero to no effort to get it. And that's great, you know, if you need something in a pinch, but does it teach you to like go without? Does it teach you to come up with a different angle or do something different? It totally doesn't. So it's, you know, how are you ever going to learn if you get what you want all the time and you don't have to do anything for it?
Well, and I think you're correct. We live in a society where, you know, Amazon is same day or the next day. Mm-hmm. You want food, you don't have to drive to get it. Mm-hmm. You can just pay way more. Or to me, common sense is get in your car and go pick it up.
Well, there you go.
You know, and look, I'm using the, 8-2 rule. 8 times out of the 10, you can go get it. There's the 2 times where you're just busy at work and you order food because it's better for you.
Yeah.
But common sense should be like, look, it's going to cost me $12 more when the restaurant is around the block.
And there's a dude at my lazy.
Work. There's a dude in my work. He will order on that shit all the time when literally it's around the corner or 5 minutes from my work. So I don't know. I think it's a weird thing. That's all. I just think that it's such a lack of common sense now that it's being perpetuated like in our youth. Mm-hmm. Like none of them can solve a problem, but they know how to find it on the internet. Yeah. But it's the simple things that you can't find the answer on the internet because the common sense is like, I'll give you an example. You have someone coming over that you haven't seen in a while or is going to stay for a couple days. Common sense is clean the house, make it look nice, make sure that there's toilet paper in the bathroom, clean your toilet. Like things that are very, very simple common sense that I've seen people not do.
Mm-hmm.
And it blows me away. I'm like, your friend is coming over. Like my kid. I love him to death, but sometimes he just doesn't think. I'm like, dude, you have females coming over. Clean your shit. Like, just make it look nice. Make it smell pretty. But no common sense. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me. And maybe I didn't learn that until later. Maybe I'm just jumping the gun. But if I have a female coming over here, I make sure I clean up everything around, make sure that I spray the fucking furniture with the smelly good stuff. I put a candle on, like I clean the bathrooms because I want to make an impression.
Right. And a good one. You don't want to. You don't want to have somebody walk into your place and it smells like ass and dirty feet. Like, come on.
Yeah. And common sense is clean it all the time. But if you know someone's coming, there should be more urgency. And I think that common sense and urgency kind of walk hand in hand, where it's just not there anymore. And I mean, I work with a small group of people, so I think common sense is a little easier to see, or you do things because you have such a small crew. But when you start getting large amounts of people, common sense just disappears. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why, because I remember when I worked in a place we had a lot of people. We had like 35 people that worked in one place. Common sense gets thrown out the window because I think most people go, well, they'll just do it. Mm-hmm. Well, they'll just do it. Or I didn't know I had to do that. It's like, well, yeah, you did. Or why didn't you see that you had to do that? I don't know. And I know you work in a place where you have quite a few people that are in the building at the same time.
Oh yeah. Lots of people. But I don't really,
common sense.
Yeah. Clean up after yourself for sure. That's a big one.
Yeah. I mean,
don't try to take other people's clients, but be nice to everybody. Mm-hmm. It's a golden rule sort of thing.
But I think common sense and the golden rule also walk hand in hand. You know what I mean? Like,
but use common sense also says pay attention to when your clients are walking in or out, so that you're the one that gets to pay attention to them. If you don't, common sense says they'll go somewhere else. There's.
Yeah. Or they'll wait for whoever's there to help them. Mm-hmm. I mean, where I work, I don't have to really worry about, because all of our clients are clients, because we're not on commission based.
Right.
So whether I help them or someone else helps them, it doesn't matter. But, there's also other common sense when it comes to things in the world. Like you should just look around more. Because I think if we all started looking around more, common sense would kick in.
There you go.
Maybe slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, and it's with everything. It's with what you do in the morning, relationships in life, your work life. All these things are common sense. Not to go to work and yell at a boss, because common sense says they're going to fire you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Common sense. If you're in a shitty relationship, you get out of it. Common sense. Well, it doesn't take much.
We've talked about that. Common sense is not very common in those situations at all.
That's what I'm saying. It's and look, there's always something manipulating common sense on both of those. At work, people push their luck at work all the time. They'll push and see how much they can get away with. It's like small children, because they'll take a step and they'll go, well, I didn't get fired for this. I'll take another step.
Right.
But common sense should tell you that if you keep taking a step, you're going to get fired. Like you can only go so far. And it's the same in a relationship. Like you can only do so much in a relationship or do so much to somebody until common sense kicks in and they're going to kick your ass to the curb. because they can't take, being shit on all the time or not paying rent or whatever the thing is. So, but a lot of us don't act on that common sense for whatever reason.
That's true.
Because it's hard, I just wish that the minor stuff would be easier for people. Like you said, driving to work, common sense is don't try to kill the people that are on the road with you. Common sense is if you don't know how to do something, we have a way of finding out to do it. You don't go, well, I just didn't do it because I didn't know what to do. Common sense should kick in and go, maybe I can find out because we live in a world of YouTube or online manuals or
and it's not whatever. Like everything isn't on there.
Yeah, there's an answer for everything. And I think that's just in life. There's answers for you. You just have to be willing to go far to find the answer.
You got to use your common sense.
Maybe you have to use your common sense. And look, we're missing it. There's no doubt. I mean, the quote in general in life that we all have all said is, man, what the fuck's happened to common sense?
Yeah. No, that's true.
It's gone. We have very big brains and don't use them enough. So it's out there. I don't know how we get better, because this is a quote that's probably been around, 50 years, 60 years, 100 years, because common sense is not so common. It's crazy. Maybe as we move forward, I was hoping that we'd get smarter. Sometimes I wonder if we'll just not knuckle dragging Neanderthals still.
Well, when it comes to a lot of things. How many generations does it take to figure out something to where it's just in there? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot.
Lots.
Yeah.
Lots, I think. I think it's, and again, you could have 3 generations of incredibly smart people. I mean, we're free thinkers. So at some point you're going to free think. That's like, we've all done it. I left my house thinking I knew everything. Right. Like I just thought I know what I'm doing. And then I went through an eviction and my common sense should have kicked in when my dad said, hey, do you want to come home for a little while? But unfortunately, foolish pride gets in front of common sense all the time.
A lot of things get in front of common sense.
Yeah. So
just add alcohol.
Look. Oh, yeah. I mean, how many horrible text messages have you sent drunk?
Me, I don't. I don't.
No?
I don't really. How
many have you got?
I don't get them either.
No. I've got a few good ones. I usually get, if I get them, they're usually more I need to talk. Like they're not wild ones.
I've gotten a couple, I had a sex dream that you were in, and I was kind of taken back.
Yeah, that's a dumb one to send.
By that, I'm like,
that'll get you in trouble.
Well, they said that, like they said I had a sex dream. I'm like, oh yeah, and they're like, yeah, you were in it, and I'm like, okay, like I didn't know what to say. So the only thing I came up with was I good. I was like, well, what's the most important thing, right? It's a sex dream. Was I good? So, but honestly, I didn't know how to answer that I did not know how to answer that.
I've sent some pretty dumb text messages, and not under the influence of alcohol. So my common sense did not kick in. Oh, you're lucky. I've sent some dumb ones. I got one one of my favorite text messages I ever got was someone text me from a women's bathroom at a bar. Yeah. And it was actually not it wasn't bad. It was just turmoil in life and relationship, that kind of thing. But it was definitely, there was alcohol involved, because this person generally doesn't send me text messages like that unless alcohol is involved. And then she's super duper open and says things that she probably wishes she didn't, because look, alcohol is a truth bomb.
Yeah, it
Generally,
sure is.
Most people say things that are very, very true when they're on alcohol, and then have to find a way to backstep when they are sober. But common sense. See, I think when you're under the influence of alcohol, common sense kicks in, because the common sense says, I need to tell this person how I feel.
Yeah.
Because common sense kicks in when you're sober and says, I cannot say this shit to them because they're going to say this, or this. So you're kind of right. I think alcohol, boy, is just a common sense killer.
Mm-hmm.
It'll make you say dumb shit. So
dumb shit, or exactly what you're thinking.
But I think that. Mm-hmm.
I think that when somebody is drinking, you're absolutely right. It's a truth. It's like truth serum. But if that's what's going through their head and that's what they're feeling, they should say that. You know, I think that as people, we're always worried about being judged. And so we don't say, if we have common sense, we don't say anything. But sometimes I think it's good to say what it is you're thinking, because I think it's important to be able to share ideas with somebody that you're close to. But if you're feeling them too, they should know that, because that changes the dynamic of things.
I think that's when common sense kicks in to say, hey, if I say this may happen, or if I say this may happen. Like there's lots of reasons why in relationships or alcohol, when common sense is involved, you're saying things that you're probably feeling when you're drunk, but common sense when you're sober says, okay, if I say this, there's repercussions. When you're drunk, you can always come back and go, oh, I was just drunk.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right. But I always think when people say things to me drunk, I'm like, no matter if they say, oh, well, I was drunk or not, I believe what they're saying. I may not say that. I'll be like, yeah, you were drunk. No big deal. But I believe it, because.
Well, so do I.
That's when you're at your most raw and honest.
Yeah. It makes you uninhibited, where you'll say exactly the feelings that are going through your mind. I mean, I've got some pretty good text messages where I was like, oh, okay. I didn't see that one coming. And then, of course, you just get I'm sorry I said that last night. It's like, no, it's okay. And sometimes you can't act on those because of whatever reason. They're employees of yours or whatever. Like things come to where you can't, or someone is in a bad relationship and they tell you how they feel about you, but they can't get out of where they're at, or whatever it is. Those are the things that common sense goes away when alcohol is involved. Right. And that's why most people use or try to use their common sense when they're sober and go, if I say this, the repercussions are going to be very bad, and I would rather keep this person in my life than push them away. Yeah. So I just think that in general, common sense is a lost art when it comes to all parts of life. And, you know, we need to start teaching or showing, maybe not teaching. That's probably not the best way, because I think showing how common sense works is how we can continue to drive forward, where they're using these parts of deduction of going, okay, if I'm over your friend's house and they cook dinner for you, help with dishes. That should be common sense, or ask if they need help. Things like that, where common sense and morals, or common sense and how things are done, walk hand in hand. They're the easy things that we should all see, that we either look blindly away from for whatever reason, or you just don't understand the social cues in life. Social cues, or how things are done, should be quite easy.
Right.
Like, how do you hang a picture? Like, it common sense should be pretty simple. Like, it has a wire on the back. You put a nail in and you hang the wire on it. These are easy things that, even though you've never done them, we've all seen them, or read about it, or whatever. Mostly movies, TV, things,
right.
or how your grandparents did it. So I think common sense can be handed down.
Right.
With the right.
I think the more interaction a child has with their elders, the better they're going to be. The more well-rounded they're going to be as people to begin with, because somebody's putting the time in to show them this is important, that's important, you should do this, you should do that. But if you look at a society as a whole, we don't really keep our elders around us. That's not the value, or there's no value in it. And people don't do that. And it's a shame, because they're missing out on education. They're missing out on interaction. They're missing out on love that they would have if they just gave it a chance. So
right.
that having those people around teaches you how to have common sense, teaches you how to do the right thing, isn't afraid to tell you no. It seems like the generation before you sees that the value in what you need to do, so that kids learn how to connect and to have good relationships based on respect and trust and everything. So I don't know. I don't know that I really don't think that common sense is going to get any better than what it is right now. Just don't see that.
I would have to agree with you.
Unless, as a society, we start to value that again.
Yeah, start to value bringing people together to show the rest of your clan how to do things and how to think things out.
Well, not only
like
that,
being a free thinker is great.
Yeah, it's true. But not only that, but somebody that'll call bullshit, because there's, in our society, there's a lot of times we just don't say anything because it would be too much to deal with the person that's acting like a fool, instead of just calling it as we should. And I think the older generations, just one of the generations that would be like, shut up, you're being an idiot, where the younger generations are putting a stamp on the bullshit.
Yeah. I also think that as your kids get older, when you see the lack of common sense, instead of saying something, we just do it for them.
It makes it even worse.
So you're not their common sense now is that they'll just do it if I just wait long enough. And the reality of that is, as you grow older and you leave the house, common sense kicks you in the nuts quick. When you live alone or you have a family, it's like my daughters, they hated doing dishes. And my whole thing was, you're going to have to do dishes for the rest of your life. If you're bitching about them now, you just wait.
Wait till you're 60.
Because common sense is you're going to have to do your own dishes at some point. I'm not teaching you to do mine. I'm teaching you that You
They
need to
be
do
done.
them
Yeah.
for the future of everything. So, and again, common sense kicked in later with them, and they understood that it wasn't me being mean. It was me teaching them a moment in life that you're going to continue to have to do these things. And you can't live on paper plates forever.
Right.
You know, life is going to change. And I agree with you. I hope common sense at least gets a little better, where people are stepping back, looking at the situation, think it out, and make a decision instead of holding back for too long or rushing too quick. Everything needs to be a small band of common sense. Think about it and then react.
How boring would that be, though? I mean, come on.
I mean, as a society, it'd be great. As you and me and our friends that make rash decisions, yeah, it's great. But, you know, we're also a lot older. I don't know if, you know, my kids' generation, they're not jumping off of roofs, but they're eating Tide Pods. You know what I mean? So
again, where's the common sense?
None. There's none. And, you know, look at it that way. I mean, we might have had broken legs, but they're dying of eating, you know, detergent. It's a fucking crazy thing. No common sense. All right. So,
I was going to say, but
yeah.
they still don't have their licenses and our dumbasses are driving them around. So how is that common sense?
That's very true. I know. No brains.
No.
No brains.
But yeah, we should wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Make sure you check out the social medias, the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We've been doing very well with our people coming to our show and subscribing and following on the Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, all kinds of stuff. Make sure you use your big brain and use some common sense. Send this to other people and they can come and listen to us as well. Talk about fun stuff. And it's an opinion show. Don't get it twisted. We're going to continue to be here every Wednesday. We're coming up on show 100. Pretty crazy. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we will see you in a week. Bye, Tina.
See ya.